Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Ravenflower, and this is my friend Eric. And you've probably known him before because you've seen him on my channel before. We have talked about the ritual of tattoos. We've talked about a lot of stuff. We've been live with
Mhm.
me in front of Coven House, in front of Anne Rice's house. You were
Yeah.
urging me not to take bricks from various
Those are still owned by somebody.
like I'm like the witch. I'm like, give me the bricks. I gotta have it. Anyhow, Eric lives in New
That's good.
Orleans with his beautiful wife. And you got ghost story for me. Let's go.
I do. I got a really good one. So post Katrina, I think we're about 14 years ago. It was '07, I believe. My boss and his business partner acquired 914 North Rampart, which is right next door to the Days Inn,
Okay.
which is pertinent in a moment for you to know that. So there has been a hotel spa. There was a sign on one of the doors called the Slip It In. I don't know what they did there.
A
Can
slip
only
it in.
speculate.
Wow.
It was a door that housed two people and four dogs, so I don't want to know.
Okay.
Anyway, so it's a big Victorian house, um, and we did a full renovation on the place. It was horribly wallpapered. The stuff was nauseating. It had also been a spa for so long, and so much incense had been burned that it was oozing down the walls like an
Oh,
old cigarette smoker's house. But it wasn't cigarette
ew.
nicotine, it was just nasty. So this place really needed a makeover. It really needed to be treated like a historic building, not
Hmm.
something that somebody just got and was just wasting it. At that time, North Rampart, which is the north-ish border of the French Quarter,
Hmm.
was not very well loved on. A lot of slumlords and a lot of people, if they owned a building, they just kind of let it sit and decay, and were waiting for things to turn around in the economy so that they could sell it for a profit.
Hmm.
So we're working on this building. It's beautiful, beautiful historic building. It's got 15-foot ceilings, both up and down, which means that it has a staircase when you come in the front door that looks like a friggin' ski slope. It is
Oh.
27 steps. I know this because these are also pertinent to the story. So me and my two guys are there. We got a dumpster on the side of the building. We're locked into the building because it's not a great neighborhood at that point. So we got the security gate closed. We got the gate closed, the dumpster, and we're just heaving all the trash out of the building. Um, just extra stuff from the spa, just and stuff that was sticky from whatever the fuck they used. Don't want to know. Wore gloves, washed my hands a lot. So it's lunchtime, and it's we're probably 2 weeks into our. We're not gutting the building. We're just removing the junk, and we're probably 2 weeks into the process of moving the hoarder level of shit that was stacked into the rooms everywhere to be part of whatever the spa was.
Oh.
And so my two workers grew up in New Orleans in the Seventh Ward. They are very spooky people. They're both African American, Creole descent. They know things that I don't want to have explained to me, kind of stuff, and that's kind of how I
Mhm.
am with some of the magic power things. It's there. So I got us all lunch. I'm still strolling around inside. They're out in the courtyard eating, which is up against the courtyard for the hotel, and they're doing full demo on the hotel, gutting rooms. It's nasty. Everything kind of still smells moldy and bleachy. Lots of things have been unattended to in that neighborhood for a number of years, even before Katrina. So it just had that dank, ucky smell.
Uh-huh.
It was probably late October, early November when we were doing this, and my two workers are in the courtyard. I'm watching them eat, and I get halfway through the big living room space, which would have been built as like the dining room, I guess, probably for the fancy stuff that it was when it was built. And I get halfway across that room, I hear a door upstairs at the top of our stairs open, like loud lock, tumbler, close, 3 steps, and a toilet flush.
What? Okay.
And I'm standing in the middle of the room. And I'm like, that's really weird. Looking at my 2 guys in the courtyard.
Oh,
Hey, you guys, is the boss here? Or is somebody else in that you let in to go walk around?
yeah.
No, man. Nope. So I grabbed a hammer and I walked upstairs because I figured I was going to have to throw somebody out.
Yeah.
I get upstairs and clear the whole upstairs. There is nothing up there. Not a damn thing. Back downstairs, walk through the same portion of the dining room and hear the same thing. I hear the door open and close, hear 3 steps and a toilet flush. And so I quickly jogged backwards where I could see up the stairs to the doorway in the bathroom that is opening and closing and flushing. And it's still wide open and the light's still off. So I called
But
my
the
guys.
light wasn't on. But the light wasn't on before?
I turned all the lights off when I came downstairs. And it's the middle of the afternoon. It's 1 maybe. So I called my guys inside. I said, tell me if you hear something. And I came walking. They were coming in the back door, and I walked across that. And they said, I heard somebody in the bathroom. Who's upstairs? Like, nobody. They both ran outside, grabbed their sandwiches, and were getting ready to climb the wall to get away from the property. They were like, you can't be doing that. One of my guys looked like Grady from the Sanford and Son, big eyes. And he was in full big eye effect of, holy shit, what are you telling me?
What are you telling us?
And I'm like, I don't know, but don't leave. Finish eating lunch. I'm going to go back upstairs and check upstairs. Or run back upstairs. Because at this point, I'm like, this is exactly the same sound I've heard 3 times in about 20 minutes. And I mean, it's 20 minutes because I carefully looked upstairs in all the closets, under the beds, everything to make sure there was nobody upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got back to the middle of the room and I waited and kind of took the last couple of steps until I was like right in the dead center of the middle of the room. And the sounds repeated themselves. At which point I said out loud something to the effect of, there's no need for you to be fucking with me. Right. There's no need for you to be fucking with me. We're fixing your house.
Yeah.
And my guys are out not eating their sandwiches, looking at me, asking me who I'm talking to. And I'm talking to whoever is upstairs making the noise. And they're like, ooh. And one guy, he just said, I'm done. I'll be back tomorrow. And he just packed his sandwich, went and climbed through the dumpster, climbed over the fence and left.
He just looked at it.
And I'm like, okay, really? Y'all are that scared of? They're like, I don't need to be fucking with any of this stuff around here.
Yeah.
And so the next day, and it was really weird. I heard the sound overall 4 times in about an hour of trying to figure out what's around me, what's in here, what's nothing. And I'm okay with spirits being what they are. I'm totally cool with that. I don't like being toyed with. So if I feel like something's toying with me, I'll challenge it, but not aggressively. I just speak out loud.
Yeah.
And in my whole life, once I started wearing these, I see things from the corner of my eye to the side of my glasses in the non-focused part of my vision all the time that I figure are birds, coyotes, whatever flora and fauna is around. Until I lost my dogs. In my house, I see my dogs almost every day. And you remember my dogs. They were 100 and 120 pounds each. Huge dogs. I will see them poke their heads out of the kitchen and look at me like it's lunchtime.
Oh.
And that's the one where I'm like, oh, man, okay, I love you guys too. I miss you. I want more dogs, that kind of stuff. Back to 914 North Rampart. Talked with my boss. Talked with a couple other people who have been in and out of that building and said, if you ever hear anything like this, let me know. For the next couple of weeks, we kept comparing notes and like, did you see this? My boss did a little bit of digging into the history of the building, and there was a person who built the building for his mistress, and his name was the General. There is no specified name. That's his name on the document is the general. And
General.
around the house, there were a bunch of photocopies of black and white photos of this guy that looked turn of the century, 18 to 1900s, black, kind of gruff beard. And on the back of those pictures, it said the captain. And so there were a couple of different conflicting stories of, was this guy an old military guy, or was he a boat owner or shipping commander or something along those lines?
Yeah.
Nobody ever really knew. Over about the next 6 months, we would hear this same kind of repetitious thing happen, and it was repeatable of walk into the middle of the room, stop somebody, and be like, listen for a second. And they, what? And if you all got your space in the right spot in the floor, you would hear the sounds upstairs.
You'd hear it.
And there were people, like I said, that were just like, nope, not having none of it, and just leave. I finally got my 2 workers when they were back to work and stuff. If they heard it, they just went outside. They're like, I'm just not going to be in the building. And at one point, to follow this up, one of those guys was working, and they thought they heard a lady screaming.
Oh, no.
And so we found him literally, again, crawling across the dumpster trying to get out of the building. We're like, what are you doing? It's like, there's some lady. I'm like, they're working on the building across, like, that's in the Days Inn. There's like somebody's over there dying. I'm like, no, man, that's a sander. His mind had taken control. His mind had taken control of what was going on, and he was like, it is something trying to get me. I got to get out of here. But I think
I shouldn't laugh. I shouldn't laugh. I've done crazy stuff when I've been in fear mode too. I should not laugh. But
I mean, Lawrence was special when he got into fear mode. He looked like Grady from the Sanford and Son, and so it was really hard to take what he was saying seriously, except that he had been around the French Quarter and the Treme and that area of New Orleans his whole life. Everybody he knows has a ghost story about, if not the house they live in, the house they grew up, so-and-so. And like, I know he won't go on certain blocks in the French Quarter because he's seen people in the very top attic windows, like moving the curtains and stuff. I'm like, people live up there. He's like, not in that building. Like, but you haven't been in there to know that. He's like, oh, yeah. But 914 North Rampart was really, really active while we were taking everything apart. Once we started painting and putting the house back together into its prettiness of being a modern, now Victorian house, with antiques replaced instead of a bunch of chintzy IKEA furniture type stuff that was in there. They really brought things. My boss did a really good job of bringing things back to period correct, and having things there. There was one armoire that we removed from the building that had been there the entire time that building had been in operation, and it was a licensed guest house. In like 18 or 1920s, something like that. And there was written on the inside of the door inventory of socks and underwear and some dates. So that's how we knew the dates, because that was there. I think it was 1915 to 1921. I don't know why somebody was just writing in pencil on the inside of the door their sock inventory, but I don't know. It was pre-depression and somebody was proud of their socks, I guess. I don't know what. It seems like it coincided that when that item was removed and all the painting was finally finished, and the tackiness had been removed from the building, and we were really trying to do it honor of making it a pretty place. All of that. And so it's an office building, or an office now. And I haven't been in the building in probably 10 years. But the last time I was ever in a building in there, talking to the office workers, like, no, we've never seen anything like that. But there's all these old pictures of this guy, and I'm like, don't get rid of him. Just leave him there. Let the man stay happy in his restored building and keep it nice. And they're like, well, that's not up to us. That's up to the boss. And I'm like, well, have the boss keep it nice. Because if you make it weird, shit's going to get weird. And that's my story. And
I love it.
It was there. It was real. I did try one time to stand at the bottom of the stairs and have everybody else stand in the middle of the dining room and sit and watch. Nothing happened. That time when I walked back to the middle of the room, we all heard the same sound. Well, it was really bizarre. So I'm like, okay, either there's a button on this floor that sets off some soundtrack somewhere, or some shit's happening. I don't know.
Shit's happening. Yep, for sure.
I believe.
Sure. I believe. I knew you would have some good stories, especially with, I mean, being where you're at, and the ley lines that, and then also doing construction in a place that just had a hurricane, in a very, very old place. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. And it was the weird thing about the place is, by everybody else's eye, what it was before we started working on it, it had really been misused. Like it just hadn't been cared for. And so it was kind of tortured as a building, and the good thing is old buildings can handle that because they're made out of real 2x4s and shit like that. But this place still had its old plaster in it in most of the places. But we updated all the mechanical of, some new electrical and cooling stuff and all that kind of things. But it was a mess when we got in there, and it wasn't destroyed from the hurricane, but it was just used messily by the people. Like they didn't care about the building. So difference between renting and owning, maybe.
That's the thing. I remember when we were there, was it 2018? I think we were 2018 when we went to go visit you guys and, had some fun for the weekend or whatever. And you had taken us to a bar. I can't remember what street it was on, but it was like there was a lot of people up in there. And I'm like, I'm like, I'm a big girl. I'm like trying to get it or whatever. And we ended up just being outside, and I'm looking up, and all I'm seeing is shadow people crawling on the rooftops. I mean, and then jumping from roof to roof. And I'm looking up, and you're like, what you looking at? And I'm like, do you see them? Like, I felt crazy. I
have a really good friend that I found in Texas when we were there. She loves to come to New Orleans, but she has to have a very finite window of when she's there because she can't handle all the death energy. She's just like, because New Orleans, this area has been inhabited for millennia. It's only been New Orleans for a little over 300 years, but this is the place where at the bottom of the Mississippi, it was a huge trading community for the native people, and it's been inhabited for a long, long time. So before the takeover of the Europeans, people have been coming and going in all respects from here. So I'm going to go now eat.
You go eat. Thank you very much.
I'm a hungry man. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. This was fun.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Sorry I had to broadcast from my car, but it's the only quiet space I could find.
I have no judgment. Thank you for joining us.
Indeed. I'll see y'all soon.
See you later, babe. Have a good one. So that was Eric's little truth talk with his ghost story edition. I hope that you enjoyed that. I knew he would have some good stuff. I knew he would. Tomorrow, I'm going to be on with my Aunt Pam. This is the first time she's ever made it to my YouTube channel, and I'm super excited about this one. She's going to be talking about a ghost that has been with her for some time. So it's not just one incident. It's going to be a lot of it. So get ready for that. That's going to be tomorrow morning, I believe. I think it's at 10-ish, 10:30-ish, somewhere in there, Pacific time. She's in Florida, so that's going to be, I think, like 1 something her time. So yeah, we'll see you guys again. Lots of goodies lined up for you guys. I hope that you're enjoying this special series. Talk to you guys later. Have a good day.